Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Pereira. As indicated by the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley in his Union Budget 2018 speech, the Indian government's think tank Niti Aayog has geared itself to create a roadmap for National Artificial Intelligence Program. The initiative came on the heels of China's three-step roadmap to become the world leader in artificial intelligence by 2030. The Indian National Program for AI will also be geared towards developing new applications of the AI technology. The high-level committee to create the Artificial Intelligence Research and Development Roadmap will be headed by Niti Aayog Vice Chairman Rajiv Kumar and will be a mix of government, academia and industry officials. In January 2018, the government conducted a preliminary meeting wherein a number of people put forward their suggestions. In the Union Budget 2018, the government allocated $480 million to fifth-generation technology startups like artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, 3D printing and blockchain. Jaitley also announced that the government will be investing extensively in research, training and skill development in robotics, artificial intelligence, digital manufacturing, big data intelligence and quantum communications, among others. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will look at the way forward for artificial intelligence. Joining me on the program today are Dr. K. Murli Mohan, Advisor, Department of Science and Technology; Pallava Bagla, Science Correspondent, NDTV; Pulak Ghosh, Professor, Decision Sciences and Information Systems, IIM Bangalore, will be on the phone line with us, and Manak Gulati, founder, NotesGen, joins us on Skype. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Pallava Bagla, I'd like to begin with you, of course. What's in store for artificial intelligence in the country?
Well, let me tell your viewers, you're speaking to somebody who's a living person and not a computer and nor an animated person. The future may hold some things like that, but I think it's still far away. I think it's a beginning which has been made that India should invest towards artificial intelligence and gain some experience towards that. But I think it's still far away that many things can be put into practice. Artificial intelligence is more like a buzzword just now than something which is actually delivering products on the ground. The only place where we see real-time artificial intelligence delivering is on the red lines which we see on a Google map on traffic management. That is something which is coming through big data, use of big data, real-time and kind of an artificial intelligence. And anybody who thinks, and this is my firm opinion, that jobs will be lost by artificial intelligence, I think is incorrect.
You know, that's something that I'm going to get into ahead in the program. But what you're suggesting as of now, to put it into perspective, is what we see in the movies is far from the truth, is what you're suggesting at this point in time.
I think movies are fictional things and they need to be looked at perspectives of development of fiction.
Sure. Coming back to the topic now, let me bring in Dr. Murli Mohan into the picture now. Dr. Murli Mohan, what are the factors that have led to this AI push?
Yeah, well, we have the core strength in artificial intelligence in the country. Number one, we are strong in mathematics, statistics, computer engineering and software development. These are the core ingredients that works towards development of any AI systems. And also we have the huge data available with the various governmental sectors and as well as social media and other aspects. So combining the data and with the artificial intelligence systems, so much of solutions can be developed, and it is useful for the government and as well as for the public and as well as the startup companies. So this led us to launch a program on interdisciplinary cyber physical systems. So one of the core component of this ICPS is the AI, that is artificial intelligence.
Sure. Let me bring in Professor Pulak Ghosh now, who joins us on the phone line from Bangalore. Professor, as far as artificial intelligence is concerned, how do you believe that it's going to fuel the Indian economy in the days to come?
Well, it is still an early stage, as one of the speakers just said, that artificial intelligence is still in a buzzword and it varies in different countries though. But for India to take care of it and utilize it for its own benefit in the economy, we got to invest. We got to develop more research-oriented thinking. What artificial intelligence is, what it can deliver, and where are the scopes for India to mine the artificial intelligence methodology and everything else, which has not been done yet. See, people all over the world are talking about it, but they still are very much unclear that what are the zones where I can maximum use it. So, for example, if I have large level of data, I can use machine learning tools to pull it across, but is it helping me in the economy? Is it helping me in job creation? Do I have enough research orientation in the country? Do I have enough interdisciplinary knowledge base to take care of those things? Still very unclear. So I think scope is huge. And I also believe that it's not a case of job loss as people made out to be. Every technological intervention has certain hiccup in the job because there is new kind of jobs comes in. But India is still a long way before it can mine this opportunity, I would say.
Sure. Let me bring in Manak Gulati now. Manak Gulati, talking about this issue of job creation, job losses, there is this perception around the world that when artificial intelligence comes into being, comes into play, there are automatically job losses, people lose their jobs, machines take over from the people, is the general perception among the people. Can you put that into perspective for us and tell us how that is not the case in reality?
Well, artificial intelligence is a very big concept. And in order to even scratch the surface of this concept, you need a lot of intelligence to be deployed. And this means that more number of people working on a particular project or working on AI as a whole. So I really don't think so that there'll be job losses. In fact, I feel that since more number of people would be required to build an intelligence system means more jobs. So whatever we have learned till date, we all have to apply our intelligence to even scratch, like I said, scratch the surface of AI. So there's no scope of job losses. In fact, there will be a huge amount of jobs available and variety of jobs available actually.
Okay, Pallava Bagla, how will artificial intelligence lead to job creation? What kind of jobs can we see in the market and who can be employable?
It's hard to predict on what kind of jobs may be created, but people who are skilled in computers, who are skilled in logic, who are skilled in mathematical programming are the people who will get certainly jobs. And but there is always need for a caution on anything to do with machine learning and artificial intelligence. Most of us are familiar with smartphones, and most smartphones, when you use anything to type on it, also has a machine learning and it starts suggesting words to you. And sometimes the word suggested, and if you're not very careful, can be very embarrassing. And when you hit the send button and you realize that you wanted to write
Many of us have faced that problem in our lives.
Yes, you wanted to write that the duck has flown, and instead of duck, it becomes something which is so very nasty that you really feel offended. So on systems like this, which have been around for a while and there has been so much machine learning, it still fails. But that does not mean that it cannot be mastered and it cannot be perfected. And as far as job losses go, let's go back a little in history. Several decades ago, when computerization was brought into railway reservations, there was a lot of hue and cry that there would be a lot of job losses in railways. But now we have a very perfect system, probably the world's largest reservation system, computerized system on railways, and it delivers for you and me the product perfectly, even on apps, mobile phones, and on internet, and the jobs have not been lost. So there is a need for reskilling rather than job loss.
Sure.
Like the gentleman on Skype was saying.
Indeed, indeed. Reskilling is the key word that we need to focus on going forward, because we need to have the kind of manpower that is equipped to handle artificial intelligence too, is what you're suggesting. Let's take the discussion forward now. Dr. Mohan, what are the areas that we need to focus on as far as artificial intelligence is concerned?
Well, if you look at the worldwide trend, at present a lot of applications are being developed in medical applications, image processing, computer vision, and data analytics. So these are the areas where the more jobs are getting created nowadays. I have a slightly different view on the job scenario. When the new technology comes, particularly like artificial intelligence, initially there will be an element of job loss across the globe. But here in India, we have an opportunity. If we can convert this into an opportunity, we can skill and reskill our graduates to grab this opportunity, and then they can become asset. And also the starting of the startups and then entrepreneurship development. Lot of industries can be promoted in this area, and that's how where then opportunity lies. So these are the areas where we have to concentrate initially, and of course we have the clear-cut goals and as well as some mission objectives. We are working on that direction, and soon we will be launching a national mission on this aspect.
Indeed. Let me go across to Professor Ghosh now. Professor Ghosh, since you're associated with the education sector, I want to understand from you what kind of an impact that AI will have on the education system and also probably on the curriculum.
Well, first of all, let me tell you that for India to get leverage on AI, and making that a pool of students, researchers, fundamentally we have to be very interdisciplinary in nature, which historically we are not. See, we could solve IT problem because it was unidirectional. You produce engineers and that's fine. But in the AI, from an academic perspective or from an operational perspective, what you need to understand, AI is just an output or kind of a platform. What goes in is a behavioral analytics, big data, machine learning, psychology. Everything goes in there, which is extremely interdisciplinary. And until we develop an interdisciplinary setup, which historically are extremally bad, we cannot really leverage this. So that is the first thing that academic institutes need to come up with, that how different institutes together. See, if you look at US, that is not the problem because a big university has all the departments which are pretty good. In India, you have, let's say, IIT, IIM, which are two departments differently done, and they need to collaborate together, just as an example. Unless we do that academically, it's very tough to tackle this problem and bring up a large pool of people who can take leverage of this and get our economy going.
Sure. Manak Gulati, the issue of US was raised by the professor. Can we compete with the likes of the United States, China, and Britain, for that matter, who are far ahead when it comes to AI?
Well, definitely we can, because, like I said, in order to build an artificial intelligence system, you need the basics of math, science, and whatever we have learned till date. And India has, according to me, India has a lot of talent. I mean, we have been the pioneers of the number zero. So, I mean, we have huge amount of talent and huge amount of resources at our disposal. We just need to channelize our resources, our intelligence, and see, the race to AI is whoever builds the intelligence system first, and we have an advantage. So I think we definitely have to, like one of the spokespersons said, that we need to build a system where people can adopt to changing trends. I definitely feel that India has an advantage of running really fast and catching up to the big names in the world.
Sure. Taking the discussion forward, Pallava Bagla, what kind of an impact will AI have on the social sector?
Well, again, people will have to learn how to deal with a system where you're dealing with machines and not with humans. We already do that. These voice-activated systems, when we do an IVRS call to, say, a mobile phone company or to a bank, those are, in a way, slightly artificial intelligence systems. But let me say, I don't think we need to be so worried about. You just go back a little bit, go back to 2013, India launched the orbiter around Mars, Mangalyaan, and Mangalyaan went into the orbit of Mars, and nobody in ISRO had to do anything. It was programmed to go there and it performed to excellence. Is that not artificial intelligence and machine learning? Because it was programmed so beautifully by the scientists and engineers at ISRO It did its job so many million kilometers away beautifully. So we are not bad. We don't need to be so worried. We don't need to be scared that China is going ahead and we need to catch up with USA in other areas. We are pretty good at this job. When need arises, we will deliver.
Sure, when the need arises, we will deliver is what you're saying. I want to go back to a point that you're making a short while ago in your previous, intervention. You were talking about how, the machines self-learn, artificial intelligence self-learns. There is a lot of skepticism in the general public because they are exposed to movies and they see the self-learning of machines and of AI and are concerned. Is that a threat that we need to be concerned about?
No, I don't think so. One needs to be so very concerned about. Human intelligence is far superior, and artificial intelligence is, in my opinion, unlikely to catch up to the extent where the human brain can be replaced by a machine. We have touch, feel, perceive, we imagine, we dream, we look forward, we plan, and we connive. We have all the qualities which a human being has, and machine learning will certainly not take you in that direction. So I don't think artificial intelligence will ever take over human beings and the work the way humans work. So people who have great fears that AI will take over human intelligence, I think it's a little unfounded.
Sure. Let me bring in Dr. Mohan now. Dr. Mohan, going ahead, our AI program, what should the focus area of our AI program really be?
Yeah, I will rather say that we need to concentrate more on the human resources development and skilling of our youth, and startup ecosystem has to be strengthened. These are the core areas we need to concentrate as of now. We can convert this whatever threat they call it as into an opportunity to in favor of us.
Sure. Okay, Professor, coming to you now. Professor Ghosh, as far as the focus areas that I've been speaking about, ahead in the program, what should our focus area be going forward? Should we concentrate on our strengths? Where do our strengths really lie?
Well, our strength is definitely that individual topic-wise we are extremely good. So if you pick a statistician, an engineer, a computer scientist, or mathematicians, we are good. So I guess what we need to do down the road is, as some of the things are, one, create some best of the centers around some of the institutes and some of the industry houses, fund them, develop an interdisciplinary research orientation that is definitely needed. And the other thing is also we need to have a roadmap as a country. I'm glad that in the budget there is a national AI policy being announced. It's being announced that there will be a national AI policy, which talks about how AI can take care of our issues. So, for example, how the AI can be used in farming, how AI can be used in traffic congestion, how AI can be used very much for health. So AI has a very big use, as some people have, policymakers have started talking all over the world, in equalizing, societal inequality. So those should be our focus. One is developing a huge amount of interdisciplinary research pool who will do the skilling. So if there is, let's say, 10 centers all over the country who has been funded by Government of India, be it academics, be it industry, and they commit that, I'm going to develop these modules and I'm going to train in next 5 years that many people on this, that's one aspect to it. The other aspect to it also that how AI can be used in policy making in the most important way.
Sure. Let me bring in Manak Gulati now. Manak Gulati, the budget allocation for this particular sector has gone up considerably, and it is now at $480 million. Going forward, what should, where do you think that this money is really going to go? Is it going to go to big data? Are there any specific areas that you would like to see being developed?
So according to me, majority, to build any AI system, you need data. Data is the bread and butter. That's the air for an AI system. And most of this will definitely go into big data. But the way one of the gentlemen said, in medical, in agriculture, so any system that can solve the basic human problem that we are facing and or make our lives a little more easy, that's where AI needs to be applied to, because bringing up complex problems or complex projects is way ahead of its time. Let's solve the basics first, and then the system will become intelligent enough to handle more complicated problems.
Sure. Pallava Bagla, going ahead now, we've seen that AI has been used for surveillance, has been used for various other things. How is it going to help, the security forces? Is that something that we need to concentrate on? Is that something that probably will have an impact?
Well, security forces, you remind me about how, again, let me go back and say how human intelligence prevailed over artificial intelligence. Go back to 1998, India conducted the nuclear tests at Pokhran. The Americans were constantly monitoring the Pokhran site and taking pictures using satellites, and they were matching them on computers. All our great army engineers did was recreate the same image, almost the same image, when the satellite was going above again and again. So artificial intelligence failed, and simple human intelligence of knowing when the satellite was going above that place prevailed, and we did a wonderful job of our nuclear tests. So going forward, human intelligence will remain supreme. Trust me, I don't think it's going to go away. Some things can be simplified, and repeat things can be simplified, those jobs. But ultimately, people will, in the security systems, will have to be as alert, and human intelligence will always be superior to artificial intelligence. Today, how are most criminals being caught these days? When they use mobile phones and the call data records are matched with the mobile towers, and all of that is done using high-end computers. But end of the day, somebody has to go and catch the criminal physically. That will not end. So security establishments, I think human intelligence will remain the way forward.
Okay, human element will always be supreme is what you're suggesting. Going ahead now, Dr. Mohan, what should our short-term goals be as far as AI is concerned, and what is it that we would like to achieve in the long run?
Well, AI as an isolated vertical, if you look at it, it will not have much of the relevance. But we need to combine with one of the applications, either medical, agricultural, energy, transport systems. So that our immediate goal could be, immediately we need to have the platforms, the technology platform for AI systems development. That has to happen from the academics and researchers, and the industry participation. After that, we need to have a long-term goal to roll out the systems specific to the sectors. So therefore, rather I will say, first we need to have a technology platform, the AI-based technology platforms, and then we have to get into the applications, and the industry will be the partners in the complete rolling out of these systems. Here I would like to tell one thing. See, ultimately all these technologies will have a type of a services provisions. Now, we may feel that it may have an element of a job threat, but there will be of opportunities for India to provide this type of AI-based services to the rest of the world. That's where our the strength is there, and we need to convert this as a long-term objective.
Sure. Professor Ghosh, what's the way forward for AI in India?
Well, as I can see, is immediate goal is to create skill manpower and improve the research on AI, which is very isolated fashion it's happening. So the first thing is invest enough money by the government to create that large pool of people who can do it, who knows it, and who can recreate and reskill people. That's very, very much needed. And the second thing is identify some of the low-hanging fruit which AI can bring on the policy side to uplift the complications humankind have right now, and that will be the second thing. And the third thing is create as much data as possible I know the government has a lot of data, but they should be made available so that these new methods can be tested on them.
Okay, all right. On that note, then we'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. I'd like to thank my guests, K. Murli Mohan, Pallava Bagla, Pulak Ghosh and Manak Gulati for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's it from me. See you again next time.